purposely having Jalen rest so that Tatum can build his MVP case is pretty cool to see.
That's your theory.
On a night like tonight. The Heat had an internal meeting last night, and the
Heat are intrigued by this Greek player that not really anyone knows about just yet.
And they have overtime, so it's good to get it to overtime and to win an overtime game. It's great for this team.
So that's the take to go with right there. That it was Missoula looked at this as an opportunity to get better overtime practice.
Right, and
strip the bolts on them. Should've never sent them to pick up the work for them. Sprayed the park and had my shit inside the car. Marcus Smart Boy was shooting with a 36 on him. Said if he wasn't in the rush, they was all gone.
All right. Greetings, Chudlings. Welcome to another episode of Chuddy's Corner. It's Friday, November 8th. The Celtics crush the Nets 108-104 in overtime. Tatum scores 33 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, has a great game. Pritchard has 20 points. Kata has 10 rebounds. This was a very fun game. Frustrating, I think, throughout the whole game. I was sort of annoyed we couldn't take the lead. But this ended up being a great game. I feel like this was kind of what the Celtics might have needed, especially even too after the Warriors game on Wednesday, where we obviously lost to them. I think it was a good wake-up call. Not every game is going to be easy, and this was a team that came out ready to punch in the face. So it's me, Dugouts, Chuddy, you're here. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I thought it was a good game, a fun game to watch, and I thought, might not be hearing it everywhere you look, but if you're a loyal Chuddy head listening to the show, you knew this was going to be a good game, and this isn't your grandfather's Brooklyn Nets. This is a pretty fun team, and you got a good taste of why. I mean, these guys came out flying. I think they had a 16-2 lead. Celtics had 2 points 6 minutes into the game. Very slow start with
we could not buy a bucket to start,
and the Nets playing good defense. And I think obviously we're digging out of a hole the whole rest of the game. So like you said, frustrating. We couldn't take the lead, but it was basically swatted them a 15-point lead before we even came out, and just we're trying to crawl our way back. So to be able to fully do it, eventually take the lead, obviously go to overtime, and then to win in overtime. Because it feels like we've had a lot of these. Not even this season, but going back to last year, it feels like we've had a lot of games like this where we.
Can I jump in there?
And it felt great, but didn't win.
I can't. They said Missoula is 6-12 in overtime. I couldn't believe that stat.
Not great.
That's bad. That's worse than not great. That's terrible.
Yeah.
But obviously, I mean, they got it done today. Again, how many of those overtime games have mattered versus in the playoffs or whatever? But
right.
I was very surprised by that stat, 6-12. But I'm sorry. Go on with your point.
Yeah. No. I mean, it definitely it did seem that way, but it also feels like a lot of the games where we get to overtime are kind of bloodbath. I mean, obviously, if it goes overtime, it's a close game. But I mean, they made the point.
But us fighting, crawling back.
Yeah, but I mean, in this year especially, it's early in the year, but you already get that sense of we are going to be a lot of teams Super Bowls. Everyone's nobody's going to take a night off against the Celtics. We're seeing everyone's best effort every night, and we're seeing a lot of good games, and we're going to see some games like this where we have to work hard against a team where. Again, I think people hear Brooklyn Nets and are like, oh, terrible team. And I mean, we could talk about the Nets. You know how much I love talking about the opponents, especially this Nets team. But they honestly might have to do something to make the team worse because they clearly need to tank and want to be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. But I just think the team is too good.
They're super competitive.
They're too good. If the East is weak right now, if that team were to stay together and go for it, they could make the playoffs. Straight up.
I think at least in the play-in, yeah. I mean, they have a Cam Johnson and a Cam Thomas, and I kept the whole time mixing it up. Who is the one who's looking? It's Cam Johnson, right?
So Cam Johnson is probably the better player, and the guy who's probably their number one trade chip.
He's the one who's playing sick to start the year, though, right?
Well, no, he's not the one I don't think you're talking about. Cam Thomas is the microwave scorer who's just basically a negative in every aspect of basketball except for scoring and shooting. Yeah. No, Cam Johnson is the two-way wing, 3-and-D guy. Good defensive player.
No. I was talking about the other guy.
Gotcha. But Cam Johnson is probably seen as the better NBA asset. But Cam Thomas is probably the quote-unquote best player on their team right now. I don't know. It's very weird. I mean, again, this is why they're a Frankenstein team.
Okay, well, now you lost me again.
Very weird. So, I guess...
Who is the short, kind of stocky guy with the dreads that was shooting everything?
Cam Thomas.
he was nasty to start that game, but I
Yes.
feel like later as the game went on, it would just became a thing where it was like if you ever played pickup basketball before, you like have that friend who like starts out the game like hot, and then you just know they want shot every time. And I feel like he kind of got to that, especially late in the game, where it was pretty like I don't know.
All right.
I thought that he was being pretty obvious.
I'm not gonna Nets shame you for not watching the Nets, but that's like just literally who he is. He shoots every time he gets the ball. He's a streaky as fuck.
And that's fine.
He
that
makes
might
some
be who he
amazing
is.
shots. No.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, that's the Cam Thomas experience, and that's why he's not an all-star. Like, that's all he does. He's a negative.
Right.
He played
'cause I
38 some odd
texted
minutes.
you.
He probably had 1 assist. He doesn't play any defense. I mean, you saw the way the Celtics won the game was essentially Tatum just setting a pick on whoever he was guarding. Every possession of overtime.
Yes. And forcing his way
so
to
it's
him,
like,
yes.
it's just one of those funny things where he's good. Obviously, he's a good player. I mean, anyone could score 30 points consistently in an NBA game is very talented. But the way he's doing it isn't super efficient. And it's just like, he can only play this one way, and you can't really have him on the court to do it. Like, if you're not going to have him do that, there's no reason to have him on the court. And if you're having him do that, like, your team's not that good. So it's one of those things where like, he's on, you know what I mean?
To have everyone else on the court.
Well, right, but it's like, who would you rather have, him or I don't know, like a TJ McConnell or like someone random like that? Where it's like, you'd think Cam Thomas, like, obviously got better, but in terms of like fitting into a team, like if Cam Thomas was on our team, we'd be like, dude, we don't want a guy who just shoots every fucking time he gets the ball. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
What I was saying was, it was almost like and again, you have definitely seen more Nets games this year than I have. There's no doubt about that.
Probably than most non.
But like at the start of the game, because I remember in your preview, we always do a preview. Shout out Chuddy's Corner. You had mentioned how he was like shooting, like he was like leading the league in points per game, and I texted you. I was like, wait. I go, which one of these like Thompson or Johnsons is the one who's the stud? And you're like, well, like none of them are actually like a stud. You're like, this guy's like he's playing really good now. But again, and to your point, I feel like by the end of the game, he wasn't at all like he's finished with 30 points. You can't knock guys scoring 30 points in the NBA game against the defending champions too.
Right.
But it did feel like there was so many times when he got the ball. And even I was sitting there at home just calling out, being like, he wants shot. All he's going to do is take shot. And the Celtics kind of cued in on that. And yeah, I mean that he was kind of a non-factor.
An incredible shot maker. That's the thing. Like he makes some shots where he just like, Jesus, he was blanketed and just makes some like ridiculous fadeaway that not many guys in the league could make, but at the same time, it's just like you can't survive off of that's your like offense.
That's how I felt the whole game. This whole game, I was sitting kind of watching it, and it was frustrating because it was a game where we tie it, we take a 1 point lead, then we go back down by 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But the whole time I was kind of saying like, there's no way that this team like
it's gonna just
what they're doing just isn't like sustainable. Like it's I couldn't remember the
Water's
exact
gonna find
phrase.
Its level eventually. And that's basically
I can't remember the phrase that Scal and Drew have been saying the whole time, where it's like it's process over results. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is that it? Process over results? Because I was saying like
that's what they were saying, but yeah, I mean that's what you say.
We were like missing threes. Things weren't going well, and I go, just keep doing what we do, and by the end of this game, we're gonna have the lead. Like we're not gonna lose this game. And again, it went a little closer than I thought. I thought we'd take the lead a little earlier,
right?
But again, I think process over results eventually. A team that the Nets came out and you could tell they wanted to make kind of a point with this game. And they did for a long time, but it's hard to do that for 48 minutes, especially against this team.
Right.
So again, eventually process over results, it paid off, but it was quite a game though. I mean, there was some nerve-wracking moments.
It was quite a game. And I mean, I thought tonight was one of the first times where there were times where it felt like, geez, it's like Tatum and a bunch of guys out there.
Right.
Obviously, part of that is because we're missing guys. It felt like a slow start from some guys who came on late and ended up having pretty good games. But there's a lot of times out there where it's just like, Jesus, like Tatum has to do everything. And he mostly did.
The non-Tatum minutes were tough.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, again, missing Brown.
Drew a little bit in the third. I feel like Drew a little bit in the third was kind of trying to pick that up.
Yeah,
but
he came on. He was great down the stretch, of course. And I mean, that's the thing, again, where a lot of these guys, it's like, we know what Drew Holiday is. We know what Al Horford is. We don't need like these guys to really push it at all in the regular season. We don't need much from them. And tonight, I mean, I thought,
but I do think in a game like tonight, you want them to push it, right?
And they did. And Holiday was awesome down the stretch of the game. He had huge buckets, huge defensive plays. He had, came up big when we needed. His final stat line probably looked all right. But I felt like this was almost like I don't want to say this was like we flipped the switch game, but again, like I said, we spotted them 14-point lead 6 minutes into the game, so we're already digging out of that hole the entire rest of the night. Have to play pretty well to make that up. When the Nets, they're not giving it back. They're playing really well, playing really good defense too, getting very physical with us, and that's another thing about their kind of Frankenstein natures. They have a lot of these kind of like lengthy wing guys who they just swap out, and it seems like it's another sequence of the same guys.
Early in the game, it seemed like every possession they just had a guy like with their hand just like shoving whoever had the ball.
Yeah, but that's
one thing too. I said you can't do that for 48 minutes. You're gonna get fucking tired.
But they do have a lot of guys. They kept rotating guys. I think they're bigger. I mean, a big issue for them right now, especially with some of their injuries, is really Nick Claxton's like the only center. And then when he sat it, they're basically playing Simmons at the 5, which was giving us some trouble because it was, again, such like a athletic, versatile lineup, but not a ton of size. So,
right.
But again, we don't have Porzingis.
There was a couple times too
where I was in a Cornet game.
Yeah, no Cornet. That is true. No Cornet, still no Jalen. There was a few times too with Ben Simmons that he's on, and I'm kind of making that joke where it's like, oh my god, look at how much space they're giving him, and then he was kind of blowing by us on some of those plays. It was a little bit like he looks decent. He doesn't look like Ben Simmons of the past, but he seems like a serviceable.
He's quietly decent.
His stat line early in the game was like 9, 6, and 5 or something. I'm like, that is
right.
That's like what he does. So
exactly.
And the times where we were giving him that much space, he was sort of just like attacking and being like, all right, well, if you're giving him that much space, I can probably get a step ahead, maybe on like Al or different matchups.
Yeah.
And he was doing all right with it.
When we put like Pritchard on him, he would like take him in the post and like shoot a little turnaround. So like, even just having,
I was actually impressed by his game tonight.
And which has always been the funny part. Like he doesn't even really need to be good at it. He just the threat that he might do it changes the entire way you have to defend him. Like if Peyton Pritchard or Al Horford, whoever's on him, knows that he's not going to shoot no matter what, you don't really have to guard it. But even if he might just go into the lane and shoot a little like 8-footer, that completely changes the math with all the other stuff he can do, which there's never really been much question about any other aspect of the game. And he's fucking giant, like a 6'10" point guard basically. So
it was actually impressive. I never thought this episode we'd be discussing like a shout out to Ben Simmons, but that was actually a decent game by him.
Yeah, no, he's solid. He's a part of what makes that team interesting too. It's like a different element. Like I said, they've got and it's such a contrast between the two guys who kind of run their offense. When it's Cam Thomas, the tiny little chucker who just basically gets over half court and pulls the trigger right away.
He's like
versus Ben Simmons, this giant point guard who like just like will not shoot. So,
it is an interesting little roundabout there. Frankenstein team.
It is.
All right. I have a question, and this will maybe be a good chance for us to discuss these two different topics because they're unrelated topics. But I want to know what is a bigger concern for you right now?
Okay.
With the Celtics.
Okay.
Is it 1, Sam Hauser shooting, or is it 2, overall our rebounding? Because I feel like both Hauser ended up hitting that big 3 right before he checked out, and I was so happy for him. He had 2 or 3 shots before where I was like, I just need him to hit this to feel better, and he missed them, and I was like, oh my God, I feel so bad. And then he hit the 3, left the game for Pritchard to come in. But I also think the rebounding is, I think officially, like, I think we're in problem status, like defensive, all types of rebounding. Tonight they had way more offensive rebounds than us. We missed so many shots and had 2 offensive rebounds for most of the game. That's crazy. But I do even think the defensive rebounding, like today, it was just. It felt like we were getting dominated. And like you said, there was a lot of lineups where they didn't even have a true center out there. So what's your bigger concern? Hauser shooting or the rebounding?
Well, I guess by default, it's going to be the rebounding because I'm not concerned about Hauser shooting at all. He's a great shooter.
I was kind of hoping you'd go with that. I was trying to lay a little mousetrap there.
Hauser is an amazing shooter, and like you said, rough shooting night, but made the biggest shot of the game, arguably, and was a team high.
And I feel like the last
plus 14 on the night.
And I feel like the last time he had a slump like this, he ended up like almost breaking the record until he hurt his ankle. So
amazing shooter.
Those guys are just streaky. Like, and every one of his looks was good looks.
I mean, this was again. People have the memory of a goldfish, but last year you were slamming the panic button at this time because about Peyton Pritchard.
All right,
shooting.
I'm reformed as far as the panic button. I feel like my last.
I'm just saying we had the same conversation, and you were like, "Do we need to be concerned about Peyton Pritchard shooting?" And I said, "No. There's one thing we know Peyton Pritchard can do is shoot. Like he's not. It's not a concern, and it obviously hasn't been. Same with Sam Hauser. I think he's earned the benefit of the doubt at this point. He's proven he's an absolute marksman. A
All
little
right,
cold
so-
streak it doesn't bother me at all. Keep shooting. I'm more happy that he still got up 10 attempts, honestly. Keep shooting, keep
All right.
firing.
All right,
Not
before we
a
get into the
concern at
rebounding
all.
thing, because I think we both agree that I think the rebounding maybe is the bigger thing. But I brought up Pritchard because I think it's worth talking about. He missed a ton of shots tonight, but I do,
Hauser.
at the end of the day, Hauser, yes, I'm sorry, Hauser. I do agree with what you're saying. Like, these are guys that they're going to go through kind of these spells where it's not, but we don't need them to always be on because of what their role is. And I do think too, in addition to that, my panic button from last year is not the same panic button we have this year. I think people should know that. Like last year, the stakes were so high for this team that I think hitting the panic button over Pritchard shooting, the loss to the Lakers, things like that,
Yes.
I think is very reasonable with where we were with last year's team. So when you bring those things up, I feel like there should be a little context that
okay.
like this year, I
honestly wasn't bringing that up to call you out. I was more bringing it up to the point of like a great shooter is a great shooter, and him having a few bad games. Like Sam Hauser, he's not even like a streaky shooter. He's like a sniper, one of the best shooters in the league. So again, that's not bothering me at all. We know how good of a shooter he is. I have zero issue whatsoever. And the other point, which is a thing that we've been talking about Sam for years, is it's just awesome that he's gotten to the point where even on a night where he's not shooting, he's impacting the team. He's a more than capable defensive player. He's a good ball mover. He can do a little more. So we can afford to play Sam Hauser big minutes on a night where he shoots 2 of 10. And like I said, he had the highest plus minus on the team and still played a solid all around game. So
he had the highest plus minus? Oh, yeah. All right.
So he played a good game, and we've talked even last game. I mean, he was your Chuddy Chain winner last game, and I thought he played great. And the things we came in here talking about when we were praising him,
how quickly I forget. and then this part, I'm like, does Hauser suck? Or...
Yeah, right.
No, yeah.
Do we need to murder Hauser?
Should we ship Hauser out to a small Chinese team?
Yeah, right.
Or... Yeah.
So, no, zero concern there. But also, to go on the rebounding, if you want to,
I was going to say, let's get to the rebounding.
Yeah,
because that does concern me.
I'm not overly concerned about the rebounding because, again, that's the kind of thing where we're facing teams that are just so scrappy and they're kind of just outworking us for a lot of parts of the game.
But doesn't that worry you?
It doesn't, because again, I just don't think it's going to happen when it matters. I'm confident, like we said about the defense, where the defensive numbers can be what they are. I know we're going to do it when we need to. We've proven that. Again, with the rebounding, no Cornet tonight, no Porzingis at all.
That really does make our job
Al
a little
super
bit harder if everything.
And with all the great things that Cade is doing, and Cade is playing great, and he had another good game tonight. They're emphasizing his rim protection, but when he's again, and this was like a Rob Williams thing, he's flying for shot blocks, and that leaves the offensive glass open if he doesn't get the block.
I do feel like he was dominating rebounds though tonight. Cade was like everywhere on the defensive glass tonight. And he was doing both. This was maybe one of his better defensive games, I'd say. We've seen the kind of the offense and the other stuff, but I feel like tonight was a night where it felt like he was getting a lot of defensive rebounds, and also he got a few blocks as well. I think he had 2 or 3 blocks too. But
I think in the biggest games and the biggest moments, we know that the Jays and even like White and Holiday are going to go in there, bust ass, and get the rebounds when we need them. That doesn't bother me. And then we're going to have that 7-4 Lavian guy back. Al was turning it up a notch, crashing the glass. Like the rebound is not. It's really not overly concerning to me. And I thought it was funny too that they dominated us on offensive rebounds. It was like 12-4, I think, offensive rebounds, but second chance points were basically even. I think we had 12 second chance points off 4 offensive rebounds. So if my math is right, that means every offensive rebound we kicked out into 3. Seemingly. So
it's believable.
Pretty good way to neutralize that difference
but it sounds believable, yeah.
Right, yeah, and right. And it was we only shot like 11 of 40, so almost half of our threes were off our 4 offensive rebounds. So long story short, the strategy should be miss kick fire, because
I was going to say it too. I guess given like what some of these stats are, and the fact that we come away with a win, it's almost just like at the end of the day, like we could just totally suck at like just playing different ways.
Well, right, and going back in the day, we would look at it and be like, okay, we shot under, we didn't even make 12 threes. I mean,
we shot terribly.
30% on 3. We gave up a ton of offensive rebounds and like this, that, and the other, and we won the game. Like that wasn't a thing,
A gritty win. Absolutely gritty
right,
win.
exactly. Very gritty win.
But
and
it does make it tricky for us as a podcast host to try to find topics here.
No, but I mean, it was a great game. We should talk about the execution down the stretch. Great stuff. Like, again, we talked in the Warriors game, kind of lost it down the stretch, but I thought, again, if you go process over results, I thought the process was solid and just got some unfortunate results. Tonight, I thought the process very solid again. I'm sure if this, again, was last year or if they had lost the game, we'd be talking a lot more about that final possession and Tatum's final shot, where he basically settled for
I do want to get to that
step back
at some
three.
point.
But let's start before there. So 31 seconds left. I think this is kind of what the game came down to. Tie game.
Hold on. Can I bring up one thing before we get to this part?
Yeah.
The one thing I want to say is even before we get to this part where the team kind of locked down and ended up for getting to overtime and getting the win.
Okay.
There was a point in the game, I forget the exact minute, but we were down 5 and the Nets were inbounding under the basket and Tatum was the guy covering the inbounder. And he fucking swatted the shit out of their first inbound attempt. And like that I feel like is a thing where it's like people might have just been looking at their phones because it was like an inbound or whatever. Your superstar player swatting an inbound pass with like with down 5 with like 2 or 3 minutes left. Like that is not that's like unusual, I think, in the NBA. So I think Tatum deserves a lot of credit for that.
Few plays like that. He had another one where after he got fouled and they didn't call it when it looked like he got blocked going for that dunk and the guy's got all arm. He like sprinted
still
back,
walked the guy
poked the ball
up,
into the backcourt and like forced him to dribble it out of bounds. Got a turnover.
He got a bullshit tech from plays. That, but it was a great play though.
Exactly. And he made a few plays like that. I think the Nets, we held them to only like 16 points in the fourth quarter. So defense completely ratcheted up. And Tatum immediately said that in his post-game interview. He said Joe basically called him out in front of the team for his defense. Knew he was better and he had to step it up in the fourth. And you saw it. And again, this is stuff that would have bothered us in the past, but now it feels like it's earned. We have the right to like flip the switch and Tatum turn it on when you need to. And tonight was a classic case. They turned it on when they needed to, pulled it out, got the win. Awesome to see. So that was great. The final play execution. So this is where I want to talk about the situation. It started with, again, about 31 seconds left. Timeout Celtics. So the Celtics run this play, which is basically their best. It's funny. It became for a while, we would say it was like the only play they have. But when it works, it's hard to argue with. So they run the play where Tatum sprints in from half court, gets the back screen, and they do the double pass in for the dunk. Backdoor dunk play, which is seemingly unstoppable. We get busted out every once in a while, and the team's never ready for it. Easy dunk. Worked out. Score with what? Probably 2 seconds. About as beautiful of a play as you could run in that situation.
Yeah. You're talking about the Tatum dunk.
Yeah. And that sets us up so we can get the ball back for the last shot as we're up 2. Then Tatum commits a tough foul on a loose ball. They make the 2 free throws with 7 seconds left. Celtics inbound. Tatum dribbles, step back on Claxton. Played very, I forget if it was actually Claxton or Finney-Smith, but either way, they played very good defense. Got him in the air. Tatum, it seemed like maybe could have tried to put it up and drawn the foul. He tried to kind of sidestep him and get a cleaner look, but did not go in, didn't work out. So whatever. First thing I want to start with this whole scenario is going in. Scal and Drew, especially Scal, is saying you have to go for the 2-for-1. Which
they love 2-for-1. I mean, we already know they love 2-for-1.
Right. But this is totally different at the end. This end of game scenario to me, and again, it's kind of like a moot point. So it easily kind of got glossed over because they ran this perfect play that took 2 seconds, so it worked out. But if that's the mindset, which again we have no like proof that it was or wasn't, but the fact that Scal saying like they have to do this, to me that's insane. Like, it's a tie game with 31 seconds left. You can't tell yourself you have to get off a shot within 5 seconds. You need to get the best shot, even if that means like,
and then make them have to make a good shot.
Exactly. It doesn't matter how long it takes. You have to score. I don't care if you get the ball back. It doesn't. You can't give up a possession.
If you get an easy look quick like we did, that's great.
Exactly right. Obviously it worked out.
But you don't have to.
I just thought it was so crazy that he was saying like that was a foregone conclusion. Like they have to get a 2-for-1 here. Like this isn't the first quarter. We can't punt this possession. We have to score here no matter how much time it takes. And like we can't rush it just thinking, oh shit, we have to shoot before 24. Like, so that to me is just like a fundamental game theory difference of approach. And again, the 2-for-1s in other quarters, I get it. I still don't always agree with it, but I obviously get it. End of game
Scout
like that,
loves
tied.
2-for-1s.
absolutely insane to me. So again, it worked out. We'll never know if Joe was thinking that way or not because the play worked so well. But if it wasn't there and they had to kick it out, the strategy was to have like Tatum immediately like launch a three just to ensure we get the last shot. I would think that was terrible.
That's
strategy.
not good. Yeah. So here's my question though. With the actual play that we score.
Mm-hmm.
They go down then and score, right? So then it's us tied with like
throws,
yeah. It's like 7 seconds left with
it was like 12 seconds left, and then I think they had a foul to give, and they used that with like 7 seconds.
Right. So the final inbound play, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't like that final play at all. It just seemed like the idea was all we were trying to do was just get a successful inbound into Tatum, and then it was just Tatum dribbling around and doing nothing. I feel like. Okay, so I'm not crazy. That's good to know. But also, like, I don't get why is that it? Like, we have, like, especially a guy like Pritchard who's hit so many this year already. Like, we've joked about it on the pod. Where, like, how long until they draw up plays for Pritchard? It seems, that'd be the only case that there's too much time. But it's like, they get a successful inbound, even that is 7 seconds, which, as far as last shots go, is an eternity. And it felt like there was just nothing beyond that. The idea was just get an inbound to Tatum and then just go for it. Again, it's a regular season game. We end up winning it anyway, so I don't want to nitpick this too much, but it's just kind of like the look that Tatum got up was terrible, I think. So I don't understand what that, like, was that what you saw? Was that like the play call, or did it just not work out and Tatum had to just improvise?
I think the play was to give him the option to like do it, like get the ball to Tatum, clear out, and let him do his thing and live with the results. And again, the fact that it's tied versus like I would assume if we're down by one there, we see a very different strategy on the Celtics end. The fact that it's tied is like we know that at least worst case scenario you have to shoot the ball as time's expiring, so it's like overtime is the only other option.
Yeah.
It gives you that kind of grace when it's again a tie game, where you don't have the pressure on you. I think the strategy was get him the ball in an advantageous situation. I think he made a couple moves, tried to go by him, it wasn't there. Tried to get to the step back, get him in the air. He, like I said, he did get him in the air, so he could have jumped and at least forced the ref to make a tough call that he might have gotten because he did get him on the pump fake. He wouldn't have been crazy. It wouldn't have been crazy at all to see it called, but he again chose to kind of like lean to the side, try to get off a clean look, and it just wasn't a great look. So. I don't love it, but again, it's like
get that call though.
When you're that great of a player, and I mean, again, everything I feel like that too. This year, we get the spin of like, our side quest is winning the MVP. If you want, when you're the MVP, that's what you do. You throw the ball to the MVP and you say win the game, and you go get an MVP moment right now. So
the side quests are fun to talk about, but I do feel like.
But again, the downside here
quest.
Is you're going to overtime, and that's just an unreal opportunity for adversity that Missoula is chomping at the bit. So it's like a win-win.
Yeah.
Either we get the opportunity.
Overtime was the only chance for the Chuddy Bar parlay, so I wasn't totally upset.
And from the stat you said, overtime might be our biggest weakness. We need to work on overtime. So it's good to get it to overtime, and to win an overtime game is great for this team.
So that's the take to go with right there. That it was Missoula looked at this as an opportunity to get better overtime practice.
Right. And
I think that's
in the process,
that's the take with this last shot.
Tatum's ego and give him the chance to further his MVP candidacy, and it's a win-win.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like the last play.
I didn't love that shot, but again,
the fact that we won and it worked out, it just it makes it a moot point. You don't want to spend too much time on that. But I just feel like you have 7 seconds left. If you want to try to get something good for Tatum, but there's guys out there that there should be other opportunities.
I also think that we're like, as a team and as a fan base, we should be beyond this, where it's like he's earned the right. No, but seriously,
podcast.
I know, but we don't have to every game where we don't have to nitpick the last shot. Where it's like, guys are fucking champs.
And I do.
Tatum's already had multiple clutch moments this season and was like killing it this game. So just the fact that he like forced a shot when every team go watch every team play. This is what every team does, which I'm not saying makes it right, but I'm just saying it's hard. You can't run like a great play to work.
They're showing a highlight reel of Peyton Pritchard from over half court.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
I guess that would have been the only thing, is that we were inbounding it in the half court. If we inbounded him,
I don't think this has to be like a thing. Like, what are the Celtics doing with the last?
No, it doesn't. But it's worth at least mentioning. It's worth at least mentioning.
It's worth
for a
mentioning.
podcast where we discuss the Celtics.
It's worth mentioning. It was a huge talking point in seasons past. I just think we've got beyond the point where we have to at least it's worth talking about. But
That's fair.
I don't think it's something we have to be concerned about. I guess I'll say that.
That's fair. No, that's fair. I feel like anytime there's a last minute shot, we have to analyze it.
Yeah,
but you're right. We don't have to freak out about it.
But like I said,
I
have faith in the players and the coach that if this was a playoff game and we're down one, that's not the play you're going to see. So.
Right, especially if we have Porzingis and Jalen playing too.
But even if not, it's like I said, I think Tatum, in a way, has learned to pick his spots in this regular season. Like we said when we talked earlier about his shot selection from three, and it's he's shooting a lot of threes, but these are regular season games where we're up by 20 points. That's fine. Tonight, when we were down, there was a sequence in the third quarter where I think he went hard to the rim 4 possessions in a row. He worked hard to get a good switch, and he went in. He drew 3 fouls and got a layup in 4 straight possessions. And it's see, he's just so at a point in his game where it's he knows exactly what to do. He's got that spot where it's he can control the chessboard the way he's seeing it and do whatever he wants. And he's okay, right now they took their center out. Claxton just went to the bench. They don't have a rim protector. My team's losing, and, we're missing some guys tonight. Nobody else is really stepping it up. I got to take this game over. And what does he do? He puts his head down, gets to the basket, and he went on an 8-0 run by himself without shooting from outside the paint.
He had an 8-0 run in the first to make it a ball game again. And he had a 10-2 run late in the third quarter,
That's what I'm talking about. There's the second half one where it was all free throws and layups.
No. Certainly not indictment on Tatum that last shot.
That's why I'm not worrying about anything because, he's shooting too many threes. It's see, when the chips are down, he's just doing what needs to be done.
What needs to happen,
not more than that. I don't need him barreling to the basket on meaningless games when we're up 20 because it's the right thing to do. He knows what's the right thing to do.
All right, that's fair. No, that's fair. But I do, anytime there's a last minute shot, we obviously got to talk about it. But I do get what you're saying. In that situation where no matter what, if we miss, we're going to overtime, you kind of, you got a little bit more leeway to let him kind of cook or whatever. But I do think we're going
he goes to the basket.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're a little over on time, so I want to kind of wrap up anything else we have on this game here. I do think I feel really bad for Tillman. He got the start tonight. Yeah. Played about 5 minutes, and they went on it. They got down 12-0, and we never saw him again.
Yeah.
That I don't know. I mean, we don't want to overreact too much, but going into the season, I think you and I both thought he was going to have a much bigger role. I know Queta has been playing really well, so that impacts it. But
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you feel. I felt bad for when they came on the second half, and Tillman wasn't even. It's just kind of
right.
Fuck, is he just not even he just can't even get on the floor. I feel terrible because I like the guy, and I thought he was going to be really good. I think he still can be really good, but
right,
I don't know. He had a chance to hit 2 wide open threes, airballed one, missed the other, right. And after that, that's when he was basically done.
Yeah, well, and then I think the problem was that then he was hesitant, and then there was a couple times where he kind of caught the ball and just froze, and that's what you can't do. You got to keep the ball moving if you're out there. Even if you miss, you got to keep shooting because, again, that's why he's out there. If you're going to be part the whole thing of having him out there, especially with Al, if we're going with both those guys, is to get the spacing, the 5-out lineup. And if he's just not going to be even a threat to shoot, then that kind of defeats the purpose. And then I think part of it, especially with Porzingis out and tonight with Luke out, is that we talked about last game, the difference Queta makes in there with his rim protection and his ability to be a lob threat, where, again, I don't, if you want us to say who's a better player, Queta or Tillman, that's a pretty, some nuance involved in that conversation and context and things like that.
I don't think they're the same kind of player.
Well, that's what I mean. They might play the same position technically on the floor, but in terms of what the team needs right now, it's so clear that they need what Queta can bring. And Queta had another great game. And again, when he's out there, they're just kind of so soft around the basket. And again, where Al Horford, if it's a playoff game, you're getting, a different version of Al Horford protecting the rim, getting rebounds, all this, that, and the other. Yeah. But in, this November game against Brooklyn, we're not pushing it, so it's Queta come in
pretty late in the game. They put Al in kind of late. I was all right, finally, we put Al in.
Yeah, well, and they really rolling with these double bigs, so I think that's part of it. But I think in a weird way, when the team's whole, Tillman might play more and be better. As weird as that sounds, that when more guys get back, there will be more opportunity. But I just think matchup-wise and kind of the way the rotations go, it might make more sense.
What he's doing, yeah.
But again, Queta has played so well that he's kind of been it's made it tough for Joe to not have him on the floor. So it's kind of like a unexpectedly good problem to have, but it's a huge part of it. It's not like I don't think Tillman's played himself off the floor. I think it's like he hasn't stuck out, and Kada has just come over. And
he did tonight. I feel like
yeah, but a big reason I think why is because Kada has proven that
because we know because you have this guy lurking in the
right. He's made himself to the point where he's like
he might have a longer leash if Kada hadn't been playing the way he played.
Like we've got this guy over here who's killing it right now, and so it's I don't want to see it, but like I said, it's kind of for good reason. To me, it's more about how great Kada is.
All right. You got anything else on the game in particular? I know we're like way over on time, but what do you anything left?
No, not really. Like I said, just fun game. Like that team and cool matchup. Fun.
Yeah.
I really like their coach. I think he's
we'll
going to
play
be
him again next week too. We're playing him on Wednesday next week, so this will be a good little match. Great. Again, they came out like they wanted to make a statement against us, like they were playing like fucking. I think
that's going to be a common theme this season.
Dogs, yeah,
that's going to be every team.
I agree. Everyone's going to play us like junkyard dogs. I get it. But yeah, Celtics get the 108-104 win. Tatum has 33, 9 and 6. Horford 13 and 10. Holiday 17 and 5. Derek White 14 and 6 assists. Pritchard with 20 points. Kada had 10 rebounds today, so Kada had a nice little game there.
Yeah, need him.
All right, before we pay some bills, what do we think for our Chuddy Chain? Oh, tonight I get to pick first, right? Fuck. All right, I'll do the Chuddy Chain. All right, I'm gonna honestly, you know what I'm gonna give the Chuddy Chain to tonight?
I don't.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna give it to I thought I'd get a better reaction. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna give it to Jrue Holiday because I feel like in that small stretch there where Tatum wasn't on the floor in the fourth quarter, I wanted them to go more to Jrue, and they weren't. But he had some blue collar under the bucket points that I think are totally worthy of recognition. So tonight they're going to get that recognition. They're going to get the Chuddy Chain. I think Jrue Holiday, he finished with 17 points. He finished with 5 assists. But I think in that small, tiny stretch there, it made all in a game we win by 4 points. It makes all the kind of difference that stretch with Tatum where he had a few finishes under the basket. He's just a strong dude. Even when the game was first, he was scoring our first 4 points, I think. And it was like, they were kind of like these things under the basket where it's like, I'm just going to bully someone out of my fucking way and put it in. So I'm giving my Chuddy Chain tonight to Jrue Holiday. First of the year, I think, for Jrue.
It is. I thought it was well deserved. I actually had it. Jrue was going to be my choice as well. And like you said, 17 points. He was 0-4 from 3. So it was 8 of 10 inside the arc. And it seemed like it was all
gritty.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Again, I didn't think he was like doing a ton. Drew's another guy who like we don't need to see him give it all every night, but when the team needed him in the second half, he went in there and it seemed like
he's got to
working his way to the basket.
Nuts, he flexes him
and making those like tough finishes where it seems like there should all be and ones too. And he's great touch off the backboard from in close like that. It seems like it goes in every time. So he was great. I will then give my Chuddy Chain to Jayson Tatum again, the superstar, but he's doing it on both ends and he's going and doing all those little things tonight where we mentioned rebounding is a problem. He had 9 rebounds, 1 off the team lead.
That inbounding
along with his 33 points.
You can't even be mad about competing with Kada.
Right. Multiple huge plays on defense, especially in that fourth quarter. So, again, we've talked all year about his MVP candidacy. I think this stretch of games where they're, purposely having Jalen rest so that Tatum can build his MVP case is pretty cool to see. That's your
theory.
On a night like tonight. And I thought to see him carry the team again, not just with his scoring, but doing it all on both ends. That's what you want. And him to buckle down like that. Another technical. It seems like he also might be the new like Rasheed Wallace of the league. He's getting a technical basically every other game.
Dude, that was the softest technical ever. Technical. Did you see? Okay, I saw
ridiculous. Obviously,
I saw the clip of like because they didn't really do a good job of like showing it in the game, but I did see the clip. It was shout out Noah Dazel. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name right, but she's unreal. She's like at every Celtics game. She was posting the moment that he got the tee, and I was like, that is the softest tech I've seen in forever, dude. That was because he got mauled and he wasn't even really chirping. So I'm
And
sorry. I stole the Chuddy Chains. That was
no, that was it.
bullshit,
That was it.
though.
But I mean, that's part of it too. The way he responded to that. Even though ridiculous that he got the technical, but it was like he took out his energy by playing awesome defense the entire fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And then in the overtime, which again we probably haven't even talked about enough, the actual overtime where the game was won. Like I said, that was where
we talked about it at all.
Right, but that was where you saw no more messing around. And if we're not concerned about shot selection, it was Tatum's. Okay, who's Cam Thomas guarding? Tatum's going and setting a hard screen, rolling to get the matchup, and then either he's playing so well out of the double team with his passing, or if they weren't sending it, he took Cam Thomas in, made a couple mid-range shots right over and went to the basket one time. So it's like, again, he knows exactly what to do. He's seeing his feel for the game right now is on another level, and it was on full display there, where it's like, all right, now the game comes down to 5 minutes. Now you're going to see the best version of me. No settling, none of that. Like, I'm just taking it to you.
Yeah.
Gonna make the smart play over and over again, the right play. Great to see. And
so we got Drew and Tatum for the Chuddy Chains tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair. That's fair.
Very.
All right. Before we get into around the NBA, shout out to the sponsor time. Nick Perino Real Estate. Check out nickperino.com. That's PIRAINO. nickperino.com. He's got all your real estate needs covered. Big, small, gigantic, teensy weensy, local, far away, galactic, other atmosphere, whatever you need. Nick Perino Real Estate has you covered. Shout out to Nick. He's got some tickets coming for us, so we'll probably have a good little show coming up at a game. But even if you didn't do that, we love our sponsor, Nick Perino.
He's a good kid.
All right, so first we're gonna go around the NBA. I kind of want to tee you up something here first. I know that you come with a lot of stuff for like around the NBA, but I will say I think there was kind of a funny tweet that came out today. So it was NBA Central, but they were saying it was from Brett Siegel, NBA. I don't really know who that is, but shout out Brett Siegel.
Mm-hmm.
He says
Spiegel, right? Or is it Siegel?
It says Siegel.
Oh, okay, my bad.
SIEGEL.
Okay.
Siegel. All right. The Miami Heat are, quote, intrigued by Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Edwards, and De'Aaron Fox. Quote, going after the best of the best is always the name of the game for the Heat, which is why nobody should be surprised to see Anthony Edwards, Giannis, and De'Aaron Fox be some of the names the organization is intrigued by. So, the Heat are intrigued by three of the best players in the NBA. What does this mean for the NBA?
This is huge. Obviously, this is a game-changing report. I mean, I too, as a fan of the game of basketball, am intrigued by Giannis Antetokounmpo and Anthony Edwards, especially. I mean, this to me is just the fact that there's like a real report that's even someone typed out is absolutely hilarious because I'm not going to get into the
interested in adding all the best players
of the word intrigue, but to me, like saying you're intrigued is like to me means like you've started to be interested. Like I think the definition is it's like interest has been aroused in you. So. Yeah. This implies that it's like a new revelation. This intrigue,
like,
you wouldn't say like you're intrigued with something that you've been interested in like for 10 years. So,
right.
And Antetokounmpo is one of, I would say, nobody is going to make a list that has him worse than the third best player in the world, who's in the prime of his career. Yeah, like obviously every team.
The Heat are intrigued though,
as if they like just discovered him. Like, the Heat had an internal meeting last night, and the
Heat are intrigued by this Greek player that not really anyone knows about just yet.
Anthony Edwards, I mean, other than like Luka, is maybe Edwards might be like the number one most untradeable player in the entire NBA. It's like,
I assume he's nowhere near a free agent, right? Like,
he is intrigued as you want. Like again. First of all, if there's any GM or organization in the league that isn't intrigued by Anthony Edwards, like they should be fired immediately.
Right, that's true. I'm pretty intrigued by the guy too. I don't think he'll be able to make it happen, but I'm intrigued.
If you're not intrigued by Anthony Edwards, I just don't think you even like basketball. You just hate basketball,
right,
or have no knowledge of what you're seeing. Like you don't know what basketball is if you're not intrigued by that.
He's intriguing. He's an intriguing player.
So. I mean, this is hilarious that it's even, like I said, something that was worth publishing. It's hilarious. And again, they have no chance at either guy. I mean, there's been obviously trade.
What did you say?
Giannis,
You're like, that's like, it's literally like, it's like the New York Giants are intrigued by Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, right. It's like, yes,
right.
exactly. The Saints,
All right,
the Saints are intrigued by Patrick
I'm sure the
Mahomes and Josh Allen.
I'm sure the Heat are intrigued by adding three of
like I
the
said,
best players
every
in the
team,
NBA to their
if
roster.
any team in the league isn't intrigued by those players,
Yeah.
there's something seriously wrong with that front office.
Like, if one team was planning to add those three to their rosters, I feel like even the Celtics would then become intrigued by that. They'd be like, well, that's intriguing. This is an intriguing situation.
Intrigued by is just such a funny way to put it, too. So, like, the alternative would be that you're not intrigued. So it's like, I want to see the report. Give me the report tomorrow. It's like, the Utah Jazz are not intrigued.
Who's someone?
Like,
who's a player that we can tweet out as that the Celtics are intrigued by? I feel like we should break some news here. Who's someone that the Celtics are intrigued by right now?
I think we're intrigued by Jokic. Like,
I'm super intrigued by Jokic. Like, that would be incredible.
He intrigues me.
Imagine an Al Jokic lineup. I'm intrigued by that. I'm intrigued by that.
Beyond intrigued by
Porzingis and Jokic. That's intriguing. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. So just so dumb.
I'm gonna print the graphic.
But also the Heat are becoming like a laughingstock in the way that the Lakers had when it was like the rumors of, like
everyone's gonna go there.
Talen Horton-Tucker is untouchable in like a Kawhi trade. It's like that, that's like what we're approaching here with, they won't give up. The Lakers won't give up a second rounder for, Giannis. Like it's just reports coming out every other week. Basically, it's
a little nuts. It's a little crazy.
Superstar they're just mentioning as their guy. And then again, if we were even to bother like humoring ourselves,
I don't know how all those three would all become available.
Well, they wouldn't. But even if we were going to humor ourselves with the potential that they did, like, why would a team just give this guy to the Heat? They have very little to offer. Like, any team could easily beat their best offer. And if the Heat were to make a competitive offer, they'd probably have to give up Bam. And at that point, like, why would Giannis even want to go to a Heat team without Bam?
Well, that's the whole thing. It's the same thing they ran into with Dame. Obviously, Giannis is if they can get Giannis, it's a way better get than getting Dame. But they have no one to offer.
I don't know. And like, I get like the allure of Miami, but again, you're an NBA player. Like, I think living anywhere is probably sick while you're working.
That Florida tax.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. I'm not buying it at all.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous that this is like.
What else do you have around the NBA? I mean, yeah, because that was so. That report though, I agree with you. Was absolutely. It was just hilarious. Like, they're intrigued by it. It's like, no shit. So was everybody. Like, what the fuck? Right. So was the Timberwolves.
Right. But like, again, the timing of the report and the way they watches it is just like, in my head, I'm picturing like Pat Riley and Mickey Harrison were just like sitting in their room last night and like, we haven't watched the Timberwolves in a few years. Should we see what's up with
this guy? Like, oh my god,
dude. The Timberwolves, like, oh, they still have a team in Minnesota? Like, shit, let's see what they have. Like, watching a game is like, who is
this guy's actually sick.
Yeah. Who's this number 5 guy? Like, what? You seeing this?
Oh yeah.
All right. I'm gonna text Barry Jackson and Ira Winderman.
I'm intrigued.
I'm officially intrigued.
I'm intrigued.
Who's this guy on the Timberwolves? Because I'm intrigued.
All right.
So stupid.
The Heat are fucked. All right. What else do you have? What else going on around the NBA?
It's funny that was, if anything, the team that we maybe feared more than any, and they've become pretty much a laughingstock almost overnight. So
a joke.
It's pretty awesome. They lost by almost 20 tonight to the Nuggets. Ended up losing by 13, and Jimmy Butler got hurt and left that game. So
great,
fun times. But in actual fun times, a fun ball night again. Really good night around the league. Again, these matchups that a few years ago you're like, oh, can't even force myself to watch it. We had Hornets Pacers, was an awesome game. Hornets won, looked great. Pacers, quietly, I know they had that big win over us, but they have a losing record. They've been struggling a little bit out the gate, so something to monitor there. Hawks Pistons, an awesome game, just an awesome back and forth game. It really was. Pistons won it by a point. Trae Young hit a shot to take the lead with 8.5 seconds, or with like 14 seconds left. Cade Cunningham hit the game winner. Cade has been awesome, and this was his third straight game with a triple double. So the Cade Ivy lineup is good. I'm telling you, dark horse playoff team. The Pistons are good and fun, which is just awesome. The more teams that are giving me fun, the better. Knicks crushed the Bucks. Another big Bucks loss. They're like 2-6 now, 2-7.
They suck. You're getting to the best one though.
Well, maybe. The Cavaliers stomped The Warriors. Absolutely
Yes,
stomped
that's
them.
what I was
So,
going to get to.
But again, I think that just like goes to show that's what you're going to see. Teams get up for the Celtics. We saw the absolute best of the Warriors. They came with everything they had for us, and weren't able to bring it in tonight. Got smoked.
I'm gonna save this take. I'm gonna save this take mostly for Sunday's game because we play the Bucks, and then the next game will be the NBA Cup. The Cavs are in an NBA Cup group. The NBA Cup might end up being exactly what the NBA wanted it to be, with like crazy exciting games. So if it's Celtics, Cavs, does only one team from each group make it?
No, I think more.
Oh, all right. Well, that ruins it. All right, never mind. Well, I'll save that take for that. Go ahead. The Cavs.
Well,
go ahead.
Still,
the Cavs
are 10-0, and they're the only undefeated team.
The Warriors tonight. Who
first team
us
to get to 10-0 in a while. It's legit. I mean, they're a really good team. They're all healthy and playing well right now, and they have a lot of continuity. I mean, those guys we've talked about in the years past being a clunky fit, but they've been together for a long time, and a lot of teams can't say that. Kenny Atkinson coaching his balls off there, so fun to see. And I mean,
first
you kind of like
got to go to
but...
10-0 without a new team too.
Yeah, and I mean that's more than 10% of the season. So,
dude, yeah, no, the Cavs,
nothing to scoff at.
They were up, they scored
81.
They scored 81 first half points on the Warriors, who held us to like 42 or whatever it was,
40,
like 40,
45.
Like, that's scary, dude. That's scary.
No, the Cavs.
We're gonna play them in the NBA Cup. Shit's gonna get real.
Cavs are no joke, and it's very quickly looking like they're. We talked a lot about who would be kind of the biggest threat to the Celtics in the East. It looks like
we said the whole time.
Not only does it look like it's the Cavs, it doesn't look like it's even. There's a close second. It's like it looks like it's the Cavs and the Celtics, and then everyone else.
Just to recap for everyone all the Chuddy heads at home, you already know this. We did predict Peyton Pritchard 6th man of the year, and we did predict Cavs being the biggest competition to the Celtics. So
them's the fact.
If you are listening to Chuddy's Corner, if you are a Chuddy head and you have friends who aren't doing it, you're basically letting those friends down.
Those aren't your friends.
You're not their friend. I think by not telling them about Chuddy's Corner. That's what I think it is.
That's true.
They might be your friend, but they just don't know. So you got to let them know.
True.
You're not their friend unless you tell them.
So true. Another team that if you've been listening to Chuddy's Corner, you know that at least I am very high on, the Phoenix Suns. Another big win going into Dallas and pulling out a last-second win over the Mavericks. Suns improved to 8-1. Last year, they were like the worst team in the league in crunch time. They had a losing record in games that went down to the last 5 minutes. This year, they're now 6-0. So if you listened again to the preseason podcast, I told you just getting Mike Budenholzer in there would immediately clean a lot of stuff up. Getting Tyus Jones, a real point guard, would make a world of difference. It already is. Kevin Durant looks awesome, which, surprise to absolutely nobody. But that Suns team, man, they're legit. They are legit.
Yeah.
That was a great game. Good win for them.
How many games has Devin Booker played?
I think all of them.
All of them? Wow. Season high. All right.
Yes.
You got it?
Yes.
I don't know why you love him so much.
I don't.
You love him. All right. Anything else around the NBA or?
No, we can be good on it for that. The Lakers are up 17 on the Sixers. The Sixers thing, seriously though, it is something to watch because everyone's
Maxi's
like,
out now too. They're fucked. They're fucked.
Maxi's out for multiple weeks.
They are so fucked.
Right, and also it's like everyone's like, well, they're fine. Like I'm not going to judge them until they have all their guys. Meanwhile, if you look at the schedule and the guys they have out, like they could easily be like 1-10, 2-12 very soon.
They're horrendous.
And eventually, the math just gets to the point where it's like they're going to have to go like. They're going to have to win at an insane clip to even not be in the play-in. So
also, I love how Embiid gets suspended and suddenly he's good to play games. What the fuck is going on in Philly?
I think we've beaten the Embiid thing to death, but yeah.
All right. All right. Let's all right, so it's getting late. Let's go to so we have the Bucks coming for a little Sunday matinee. Are they coming here or are we going there? Do you remember? It doesn't matter. We play the Bucks on Sunday afternoon.
Yep.
3:30. So the pod will be maybe a little bit later. We'll probably drop the pod somewhere between the end of the football slate and Sunday Night Football. We've seen obviously the Bucks once already this year. Is Giannis still? Has he been out? Is he still out? Or
I think he only missed like one game.
Okay, so
he's
back.
Tonight. He's played.
So this should be like a true matchup with the Bucks then, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A good little measuring stick game.
Well, I don't know about that. Is it?
They suck.
No, well, honestly, that was kind of what I was going to say in my preview. It's almost sad. Like, thinking back, it was not that long ago when we played that epic playoff series against the Bucks, and it felt like, shit, like, these two teams, we're going to be seeing this matchup for the next fucking years to come, these two absolute juggernauts in the East.
They got rid of Drew. They got everything else coming to them.
Yeah, but it's like almost. Well, no, I'm not saying that it is or isn't, but it's almost more just like crazy to think that I'm almost like not even that excited about this game. It's kind of just another game,
Yeah.
like honestly. Where
it's how the league goes.
Well, no,
really we want to beat them. It still is a big game,
them,
I think.
Yeah, but is it bigger than like the Pacers right now? Is it bigger than the Knicks? Is it bigger than the Cavs? Is it bigger than the Magic?
Definitely not bigger than the Cavs. Definitely not bigger than the Cavs. Definitely not bigger than the Pacers. Maybe Knicks, because I think the Knicks suck. It is far from what it was. It is 100%. Yeah, it's a total snooze. It's an opportunity for Bucks people on Twitter to be like, "Oh, we beat the Celtics if they win." But if they lose, then it means nothing for us. It only means something if we lose this game.
Yeah.
So anyway, tune in Sunday night for the Celtics.
Giannis alone is worth the price of admission. And to see probably the two best players in the Eastern Conference going head to head. So that's good to see. Who knows? Maybe we'll see Jaylen Brown back. Maybe we won't. But yeah, I'm excited for it.
I'll tell you what. If we don't, we're gonna have a long conversation about the concern meter.
No concern.
Some concern.
Jaylen is in on the side quest of getting Tatum the MVP. So
that was the thing I said today. I go, maybe he's just missing games to help Tatum out.
100%.
All right, we'll get into that. We'll get into that at the Bucks game because I feel like we're going to smoke them. We'll have some extra time.
Can't wait.
All right, but for us though, I think that pretty much puts a bow on tonight's night, right? Yeah, Friday night. All right, let the boys get after it. All right. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're following Chuddy's Corner on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, whatever platform you listen to us on the podcast. Follow Chuddy at King Chuddy. Follow me at Doug_outs. Follow Chuddy's Corner at Chuddy's Corner. And when you finish listening to this pod, go tell 2 or 3 friends about it as well. Thank you all. We'll see you back here Sunday evening, a little matinee. Take care.
Peace out, Chuddy Outs.